It's like meeting life on life's terms, in a sense, and looking toward it. Just looking toward it with curiosity, not to change it, not to make it different, not to figure it out, just because it is, just for the sheer fact that it is reality in this moment, it is what is in this moment. There's no need to argue with that. There's no need to manipulate it. Let's just be in it. Let's just look toward it and just learn more about reality that way. Learn more about truth that way, because it is the truth if that's what's showing up.
I think we're trying to wrestle with our feelings and our thoughts because we think that we can tame them or something like that, but they're just this untamable movement within us. It's a wildness that doesn't need to be tamed because it can't hurt us.
If anything in this kind of feels right, like is it really true that life is that dangerous that we can't handle feelings? Like if you're onto that, then maybe just trust it. Just trust it a little bit and just lean in. Again, like I'm not saying like go sign up for a month in silence. Sit for 5 minutes. Sit for 1 minute. Really, like in the class, many people started with like 30 seconds. Sit for 30 seconds.
You might be expecting this podcast to discuss hot baths, meditation techniques, and breathing exercises. But really, those are only just pressure releases, and they don't fix the true cause. The true issue is a contracted mind. And a contracted mind creates stress, upset, frustration, and impatience. A relaxed mind creates inspiration, connection, fresh ideas, and solutions to intractable problems. We're going to explore how you can relax into presence. This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life.
I think a lot of us are afraid of silence because it's scary, it's uncomfortable, because we're with ourselves. And we're not sure about that. We're not sure how we feel about that, or we don't like it at all. My guest today has been going into silence more and more. I joined her on a course recently called Resting and Restlessness, where we explored what silence was like and we relaxed into it a little bit. And I have to say it was transformational for me. So it was really great. But I think it's going to be great for other people too. So that's why I wanted to have her on today. Her name is Amy Johnson, Dr. Amy Johnson, PhD. And she is an author, a coach. She's written the book Just a Thought and Being Human, and then the other one was
Little Book of Big
Little
Change.
Book of Big Change. Yeah, that's right. And she is going to share more about what it's like to be in silence and how we can come to look at our thoughts in a new way. So, welcome, Amy.
Thanks so much for having me, Rich. Happy to be here.
I'm excited to have you. I was telling you earlier that I'm gonna try not to fanboy or fangirl and be like, woo, gush on Amy because she's really been somebody that's guided me in a lot of ways more recently, especially over this last year. So thank you for that.
Yeah, well, thanks for listening. I'm happy it worked out that way.
I know. You the way that you described the mind and thoughts, I felt like was just a little bit different from the way that other people did it. And so for me, it was very refreshing. And I think that it'll be refreshing to other people as well. And maybe if they haven't heard about this kind of stuff, about thought, this will be like opening a brand new door for them. So it could be an opportunity to change your life. So it's a great opportunity to listen in if this is your first time listening. So, Amy, I would like to talk about silence. I'd like to bring that up because it seems like you have been using it more and more. You're doing silent retreats in the future. Tell me about why is silence such a powerful tool to help us connect with ourselves?
Well, I think it's just kind of rare. That's one thing. Like it's just kind of rare to just simply be. And it seems like when we, it's not like strictly about silent, like we have to be quiet. And it's not so much about the silence per se. It's more that spending time, let's say you put yourself in a situation where there's prolonged silence, and like what tends to happen there is a looking toward what's here, like just an ability to look toward. I think first of all, looking toward what's here. Period. So when we're in our everyday lives and we're busy and we're running around and we're thinking all the time and solving problems, that's where attention is. Attention is in identity. It's in the next problem to solve. It's in what's going to happen later. That just makes sense. So to be in some kind of container where none of that is there really, and there's really nothing to do, like literally nothing to do, but just sit and, and not solve problems and not think about yourself. You could probably think about yourself still if you wanted to, but hopefully not so much. Like what happens over time is there's just almost like a rearranging, I think, of what's arising, and new things get a little bit of attention that maybe didn't have attention before. So in the silent retreats that I lead, what I think is really an important piece of it, and people can just hear this and take this into their own life in silence, you don't have to go to a retreat necessarily, is a little guidance in terms of like what we're doing in silence, watching what the mind does, just like we do, and we can talk about it in the resting and restlessness calls and classes. It's like there's this sense of like everything that's showing up is just what is. Nothing needs to be different. Nothing needs to change. Nothing is wrong. Nothing. Anything that's arising, it's not wrong. It's just a thought that would call it wrong. So it's like meeting life on life's terms, in a sense, and looking toward it. Just looking toward it with curiosity, not to change it, not to make it different, not to figure it out, just because it is, just for the sheer fact that it is reality in this moment. It is what is in this moment. There's no need to argue with that. There's no need to manipulate it. Let's just be in it. Let's just look toward it and just learn more about reality that way. Learn more about truth that way, because it is the truth if that's what's showing up. So just that in itself, I think, is extremely rare. It's very, very easy to not do that, to almost never do that, because we're busy, because we're distracted, because we're thinking about ourselves and we're running around doing things. So there is something about putting some intention behind this, of just being and looking, being and watching and curiosity, that I think is just an amazing way to explore what's here, and it's not the only way, but it's one of my favorites, and that's why I share it so much. Like I just think it's a very potent way to really stay open to and like oriented toward what's here right now, which just keeps revealing more and more.
Well, I like that you said that it reveals more about our experience, because that was definitely my experience when I first was doing these calls, when I first was doing the resting and restlessness. It felt like it felt very uncomfortable. It felt it felt like there was like a sadness there, maybe. I don't even want to label it. It was just this sense, this feeling of not being contented where I was. And
Mhm.
like you said, maybe that was coming from thought, and that was just a habit that I had. I think also that I really was struck by how much I distract myself. Like constantly. I was on Facebook, I was on my email, I was just trying to keep myself busy. And I think that's what a lot of people do. They don't slow down because they are busy, but also they don't slow down because they don't want to, because keeping themselves busy keeps them away from maybe that discomfort or what they think is in silence that might be fearful. Could you speak to that a little bit?
Yeah, I think that's such a huge thing to see. And just the way you said it, it's like we're staying away from something that we think is in silence that might be fearful. And that's the reason the I think, and it might be, and what if, and it seems like it. You notice all of this language come in. Can we just look? Like, can we just look and find out rather than in this is just innocent, but it's how it goes. It's like the mind is in charge here, and it's kind of giving these covert threats. Like, you don't want to do that. Don't slow down. What are you going to feel? Oh, sadness. I don't know about that. Like, it's just that constantly. And when we have a sense that that's just what thought does, that's kind of what the mind does. It just does what it can to kind of keep the energy there. It's just like an energy system. It just, like a virus, it just needs to kind of keep staying alive. So it's kind of what it does. I mean, it's not like a perfect metaphor, but it's kind of what it does. But when we're onto that, and we're also sort of open to the idea that, hey, like, what could be so bad? A thought, a feeling. We've all experienced many thoughts. There's lots of feelings. They're all feelable. Like, what if how the mind has framed this, that it's a problem, don't go there, you can't handle it. What if none of that is true? Just what if it's not? And life isn't taunting us, and life isn't getting anything wrong. We can actually just look toward what's really here and find out for ourselves. And I think that it sounds so simple when I say it that way, and thoughts, minds all over the place listening to this will probably have lots of reasons and exceptions why that maybe doesn't make sense or doesn't feel so safe. But for me, I mean, it comes back to this much bigger sense of like, what is, what's here is here. I just don't think it's inherently dangerous or malevolent, but I can see how thought will make it look that way, and has made. Thought is really good at making all kinds of things appear to be something that they aren't. So if anyone listening has this sense of like, hey, maybe life isn't getting it wrong, it's not dangerous, like maybe I can actually feel, maybe thought's not true. And if thought's not true, then I don't need to believe all the scary stories. Maybe I can just really be in the direct experience of things and find out for myself. Then that's it. So it's like we can call that courage, we can call it like kind of spiritual maturity or something, but it's also just extremely simple. I mean, children are doing it all the time. It's really not like advanced. It's just very simple. Like, can we just drop all the fear in the story and just be in what is, and just do it for 5 seconds, do it for a minute, do it for 5 minutes. This isn't like some giant leap even. It doesn't have to be. It's just a looking and feeling into what's actually here. And then that tends to open us up to much more. We kind of see, oh, I can actually stay open in the face of sadness or fear or vulnerability or boredom or frustration. I can stay open in that, and I can feel the energies of that. I can watch the way the mind talks about that experience. That's safe, and it's very, very doable. I mean, it's natural. It's the most natural thing in the world. It's just that we tend to be believing some story that says we shouldn't be doing that. So rather than go to work on the stories exactly, just the story level, and like kind of have a mental insight of like, oh, maybe everything's safe. Like, we can see that too. That's helpful. But ultimately, I think we realize the safety in everything by like just being in direct experience and seeing it for ourselves.
Yeah. And I have experience with that because I could tell that you had a sense that there was safety in that, but I didn't. So I almost had to kind of trust you a little bit And I also trusted in myself that things would change, that I wouldn't feel this way forever, that it would morph, and I didn't have to control it or force it or make it move. That was kind of hard, or even wrestle with it.
Mhm.
I think we're trying to wrestle with our feelings and our thoughts because we think that we can tame them or something like that, but they're just this untamable movement within us. It's a wildness that doesn't need to be tamed because it can't hurt us. So if someone has a little bit of trepidation about going into this silence or doing whatever it is that you're calling this, what would you say to them that might help them feel a little more grounded?
Well, I think what you said is really great. I mean, it really makes sense that if there's any part of this that lands that feels right, that when I say that, what if experience is like we are it. It's too much to even say we're designed to feel it. Where is the me? Kind of becomes a question of identity pretty quickly. Like where is the me that all of this scary stuff is happening to? We can start to question that and see there's really no like firm boundary where I end here and sadness is out there and I need to push it away. That whole thing is thought. That whole idea of the whole construct of a me that doesn't want to feel this feeling, but I'm okay with those feelings. The whole thing only exists in thought. And the only way we know that is we continually look in direct experience, not in thought. We look in actual experience and we see if we can find that boundary. We see if we can find where it looks like I am, that where is this me that doesn't like to feel sad but likes to feel happy instead. And, that really is what I think gets to the root of this and starts to open so much of that up. But even before that, even if that is not something that, someone is open to or interested in right now, like you said, if anything in this kind of feels right, like is it really true that life is that dangerous that we can't handle feelings? Like if you're onto that, then maybe just trust it. Just trust it a little bit and just lean in. Again, like I'm not saying like go sign up for a month in silence. Sit for 5 minutes. Sit for 1 minute. Really, like in the class, many people started with like 30 seconds. Sit for 30 seconds and just feel the sensation in the body. Just notice the emotional flavors that are coming up. Look toward thought for 30 seconds. And that does it. And I'm not saying the first time, but I mean that it's like we turn toward this stuff rather than away from it. Because what's usually happening is we're just pushing and turning away. So turn toward it and feel your way into it. And, pretty much everyone who does that, I think, starts to see, wow, this is not what my mind told me it would be. And then it kind of gets some momentum from there. And not only momentum in that we feel safer in it. I mean, that happens. But, almost like I'm guessing you maybe experienced is this growing sense of like strength and freedom. I mean, it is, I can't imagine anything that we would say is more free, better freedom than not caring what shows up in a way, like not needing to prevent or control or change anything. Anything that arises can arise. That like what could be more free than that? There's literally nothing to do, nothing to complain about, nothing to fight against. And that's kind of where this heads is, yeah, I may prefer happiness over sadness, but when sadness is there, sadness is there. And it's not hurting a me. It's not in the way that the mind tries to kind of make it seem like it is.
That freedom is something that I've experienced too. It was funny. I'll tell us a brief story. Is that okay if I tell a brief story?
Yeah.
So we have a 21-month-old baby, and my wife loves concerts, But I struggle with concerts. I feel overstimulated, overwhelmed. I used to get a lot of anxiety, especially around food. I was worried about timing of eating and how much and what I would eat. And there was a time, even just recently, just a couple of months ago, where my wife couldn't go to the concert, but I could. And I said, no, absolutely no way. I'm not going. I tried to, I wouldn't even ask friends to go because there was so much discomfort and fear that was limiting me. And then just on last Tuesday, I went to a concert by myself. Again, the baby was sick, so my wife couldn't go. I tried all my friends, nobody could go. I'm like, well, I guess I'm just gonna go by myself. And I did. And I thought I was gonna feel that overwhelm. I thought I was gonna feel that anxiousness. And if I did, I knew I would have been okay. But the cool thing is I didn't. And I was just dancing in wearing a cloak, dancing, having a great time. I don't know that that would have been possible before. I feel like this was something that a gift I gave myself, and it was really cool. I have another question because I did a lot of meditation before I found what some people call the three principles. And this feels different, this going to silence. You don't even call it a meditation. It's not even something that you put a label on. But I was trying to use meditation to make myself confident and feel better and happy and kind of get rid of my feelings in a way. And I would do fear meditation so that I would get that out of the way. I did this one meditation that was like an optimized meditation. It was 7 meditations in one, which is really funny, the idea of trying to optimize a meditation. So, what is the difference between what you're suggesting that we do in this experiencing versus a meditation?
Well, I don't know I don't know if there's a standard definition of meditation, but I think like just given the examples that you gave, typically it's trying to get somewhere or trying to change or control something or something that those might be strong words, but it is kind of like trying to tame your thoughts and not think so much or get to some calmer state or something like that. There's some purpose or agenda baked in usually. And, maybe there is in this too, but I think it's a little less so. It's more, and I learned a lot of this from Adi Ashanti. He calls it true meditation. People call it natural meditation, where it's really just, like I said earlier, kind of just being in what is. Nothing needs to be different. Nothing needs to have anything done with it or about it. It's like just a wide open kind of curiosity, immediate, like just being kind of fully immersed in what is. And so, it's sometimes as I'm guiding it, if we start off with a little guidance, it's like kind of just feeling into the felt sense, what's in the body, sensation, like feeling into the emotional space, kind of just seeing what's there, not to do anything with it. Just there's nothing that needs to be different. It's just meeting life on life's terms and seeing what it is. Moving toward thought, going into the thought space, checking out, like, is there thought there? How do I know? Is it words? Is it pictures? Is it a memory? Is there a me in there? Like what's even happening? Because we never really look at what's even happening. We tend to be just kind of living in our thinking about it. Thought is narrating it and biasly so, very subjectively so, and there's not there's no accuracy in that. It's just like kind of this narration usually. So it's a huge difference between thinking about what is, like thinking about life, and being life, like feeling life, sensing it. So it's just the way I see it is it's just that. And I don't know if that really speaks to the difference, but I do think most meditations have somewhere you're trying to get, even if it's just to feel better, feel calmer, whatever. And in what we do in the resting and restlessness calls, it doesn't matter if there's no benefit to feeling better. It's not about feeling better. It's not about having a calm experience. It's not about definitely not about having a quiet mind. It's just simply about looking at what's there. And when we look, we're looking with curiosity. I mean, it isn't just a kind of like a cataloging what's there either, just to note it. It's this space of openness where in a way it's like you just want to see what's true. I mean, that's what I want in all of life. I just want to know what's actually true rather than what my mind is telling me about it. So to do that, it just makes sense to look right at it. Why not? What else are you going to do? You just are going to look directly at what's there and not just look, but like again, with all your senses, feel into it, sense it, perceive it. There will be thought at times that kind of comes from all that and says, "Oh, this is what it is." Fine. There's no problem with any of that, but it's just this sense of like a full immersion with curiosity into what is.
Hmm.
And it's not just, I want to add this, it's not just for a practice. I mean, the whole point, I think, is you start to live your life this way. Like, and that's not a directive either, but naturally, just very naturally, when there's not a holding back, when there's not this sense of a me holding back and needing this to be different, when there is this more of just a natural leaning in and full immersion and whatever is arising, that it's not about a practice. I mean, that just starts to show up across the board.
When I noticed it in my life, it was mostly when I was walking, like walking the dogs or I walked to my mother-in-law's house quite a bit, take care of the dog there. And it was like I would notice myself being in my head, and then I would bring myself into the senses. Driving too. I loved that you suggested that we not listen to music while we drive. That was like maybe it's not something you have to do, but it can be an opportunity to be in that space a little bit. And I noticed that I would go into my head and I would think about stuff, and then I would wake up to what that felt like. And then that would bring me back into the present reality, like you were describing, the meeting life on life's terms, meeting it where it is. Being in the moment really is just the best way to describe it. I mean, and that is something that is effortless. Like it's not a technique. It's not something that you learn how to do. Like you said, kids know how to do it. So we kind of can start to remember because we've gotten so used to going into our heads to having this habit of mind where we're just lost trying to solve problems, trying to think our way out of things, trying to distract ourselves. And there's something there. I actually, this is what I'd love to ask you actually. Because you said in a recent call that there's something that's in that emotion that kind of brings you into the present, that kind of shows you what you need to know. And I've been having a hard time putting words to this, but I've gotten a sense of it. I've had the thought that an emotion has within it the seed of everything I need. Could you tell us more about that? Because that's something I feel like I'm almost there with it, but I can't quite pin it down.
Yeah. Well, one minor, and I'm not sure about this, but just one minor little distinction I might make is between emotion and feeling. So I think sometimes emotion is very kind of big and it had some story kind of involved. It's like an interpretation of some sensation. And so it's like your guilt or your happiness or your sadness. And there tends to be just a little more story in that. And emotions, when they're really big and really identified with, they can wreak a lot of havoc in our lives. So they're not dangerous. But when they're kind of when we're very identified with them, they kind of go in these, sort of dramatic directions. So just to simplify it, like we might just say more of like a feeling. And to me, again, I don't really know the definitions, but or that they matter, but a feeling is just it's maybe more of like just that felt sense. It's something just a little more energetic, a little more subtle, without all the story to kind of hang out in. Sometimes it's a feeling of just I don't know, a feeling of love, a feeling love is maybe an emotion, but just this sense of like this right here. And it seems like what happens there is when we stick with that feeling, rather than going off into thought, which is going to tell us what to do and what it means and solve problems, we just stick with that feeling. It does seem like there's just massive intelligence in that. Like it feels to me like life kind of rearranges around that in a way. And all we're doing is we're just present, like fully immersed in as what is. We're just that. We just are that. And in the dissolving of me feeling this feeling and wanting that one instead, and all of that just kind of dissolves, and this basic energy kind of just pulls us through in some way and shows us things, and it's changing all the time. And that just has this kind of feeling of a flow of it to me that's very intelligent, as opposed to, thought wanting to talk about it and make it different, or even really big emotion, kind of getting dramatic about it, and then we want that to be different. Something that feels very quiet and wise in just being in the essence of things that we might call a feeling.
Hmm. This reminds me of an insight that I had in one of the calls. I think I shared it, where it was like I saw the energy behind what was showing up as a thought or as an emotion or as a feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like that was just this limitless energy, kind of like a sun, but that's not even describing. That's still too limited. But a sun is, I guess, is the best I can do right now. But it was like this sun, and then what was showing up was this little pinprick of light that was filtered through my little black screen of who I think I am, my identity, me. And then I heard someone say this kind of offhandedly, and I was like, "What did you just say?" Because it just struck me. And they said, I'm going to try and remember it correctly. A tiny bit of infinity is the same thing as infinity itself. And maybe that's kind of where it's pointing to that this little bit is just the same energy, just kind of showing up in a certain way. And when we can become identified with it, I love that you talked about that. We become identified with it. We attach ourselves to it. We attach a story to it.
Mm-hmm.
And then that becomes something that we might feel, or that we might be uncomfortable with, or that we might push away. Do you feel like that is kind of what you're speaking to, or is there something else there?
Do you mean like in terms of the role of identity?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that when we feel like a separate me to whom things happen, there's a lot that goes into protecting and preventing and pushing away and trying to attract more of what we want. Like there's just a whole lot that goes into that. And it's really all kind of happening in thought. I mean, it's happening energetically in some ways, but attention, we can think about it as attention in a way. Like attention stays very kind of focused and kind of contracted in this idea of me and what I want and what's happening and what's going on in my life and more and less and all of that. Like that's just kind of where attention hangs out because it just, I don't know, it's just used to it out of habit. This stuff feels very important. I feel very fragile. I need certain things to go my way. So yeah, I think that's just going to be the case when it feels like that. But as we start to kind of examine identity and just simply be curious about like where is this me that all of this is supposedly happening to, and as a consequence, that sense of me starts to be revealed as not really anything that's very solid at all, not anything that stands the test of time. It's an idea. It's really an idea. There's a body here, but there's not a me in that body that we can find. It's an idea. So when it's seen to be more of an idea, which is just a thought, then a lot of things start to free up. And when that me is not believed in so much, again, thought doesn't have to go and just keep focusing, or attention doesn't have to go and keep focusing in that small little narrow space. And attention gets to be really wide and really vast. Attention can be on all kinds of things. The senses, like things that are sensed in the environment, what's awareness itself. Attention gets to really expand when it doesn't have to try to protect a self.
Yeah, I was on a call with Amanda when she did a really wonderful job of talking about how we pretend as kids, but then we never stop pretending. And instead of pretending to be a knight or a princess or a sword fighter or anything else that we might pretend, a unicorn, we pretend to be ourselves. We form an identity and then pretend to be who we think we are. But there's something that's interesting because if that's not there, if that's just a thought, that's an idea, like you said, that's great, but there has to be something behind that. And I love how you talk about how we're lived. Could you share a little bit about that?
Well, I think the way I would say it more now is that everything is just like what is what is. Like what is arising. It's here when it's here, it's gone when it's gone, and there's no one doing it or managing it. That's kind of what we're looking at in that identity piece. We don't need to, there's no one here really that has any control, that has to kind of steer the ship at all. This stuff is just arising. And that's when I would say it as we're being lived. I mean, that's kind of really what I was pointing to, is it looks like I am a individual separate from the rest of the world that needs to manage my life. And that's just not how it is. That's kind of more how thought frames it. It's just a concept. It's just how thought puts it out there. Like, oh, there's a you and you're managing your life. But the same events take place without that framing. If there's just life unfolding and there's just podcasts recorded and dinner made and all of that, like none of that requires a me in the center, like making it all happen. So everything is just like has been. But we just want to kind of keep looking at these assumptions, looking at those pieces in there.
Yeah. We can take on jobs, I think. We're taking on jobs that don't need to be jobbed because it's just happening, like you
Hmm.
said. But it's almost like we think we need to control it.
Hmm.
And we want to be the one pulling the strings, so we're willing to use all of this energy to try and pull the strings and make us go in certain ways when that's not necessarily needed. That's not really what's happening anyway.
Yeah. 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 The whole sense of me pulling strings is thought too. I mean, that's where is that? Where is that outside of thought? Obviously, that's a expression. There's no strings here. So clearly that's only a thought. But, the whole sense of a me making something happen in my life and all of that. I mean, we just need to come back into the senses, come back into what's direct and where is that? Where do we see evidence of that? Where are you? Where in direct experience is there a you making your life go? There is an indirect experience. That's like an overlay. It's just a conceptual kind of overlay on things. And so that's where it gets really valuable to sense into things and look at what's actually here versus just referring to what thought says about it.
I feel like there's just this duck paddling, trying to figure all this out. There's no me. I need to what is this? And then there's just this calmness on top of that.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I'm feeling right now.
Yeah.
What? There's no me. What's going on here? That can't be true. Thought will
Yeah. And
thought will
thought
do its
can't
thing.
thought can't see it. I mean, thought is it. So
Yeah.
it's not gonna figure that out.
No. There's some things where there's a limitation in what thought can do, and then we bump up against that limitation, and then I think thought just tries to flail around even harder, trying to grasp it, and then it just chases its own tail. It's just kind of circling.
Mhm.
But it doesn't need to figure it out. It can't. So I think when we realize that, a lot of that can kind of die down,
Mhm.
quiet down.
Yeah.
I'm okay not knowing.
Yeah. Well, and we can know, but we're not going to know through thought.
Yeah.
There's a lot we can start to know and that just makes sense and that's kind of sensed and intuited, but it's definitely not going to come from thought figuring it out.
Mm. So how can you tell the difference then?
Well, when you're looking into that, like the way we've been talking, when we're really looking at what's arising,
Mhm.
I think you really can start to see the difference because thought, when a thought shows up and we move toward it and we're curious about it and we're looking at it and we're seeing, oh, there's some words, a mental image. It has a certain feel to it. It has a certain like heaviness to it. Like thought is different from a sensation in the body. And we just know that by exploring them both. By literally like kind of going into both and just exploring them, just looking at them from all angles, not learning about it, but actually getting there and exploring it. Then I think it's very easy. I mean, intuition, what we call it intuition, like it has a very, very different feel, a very different sense than thought does.
I think that uh, there's some people who just want to get rid of thought. They say that, okay, now thought's bad. But it's kind of how we interact with the world in a lot of ways. And there's this intuition that we can see and sense,
Mhm.
and we can feel. I loved one of the things you said that kind of blew my mind a little bit. It was like you can feel thought. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, it's kind of what I was just saying. It's like when we move it, like just people just really need to try it. So like just move into, just place attention on where it feels like thought arises and just study it. I mean, don't study it with the intellect, but just look like it's a really fascinating thing that's running your life. It's totally running your life. So let's look. So just check it out. Like, what even is thought? How do I know I'm thinking? What does it feel like? Is it, does it have roots? Is it complicated? Is it thick? Is it heavy? Is it flat? Can you grab it? What happens when you move closer to it? How does thought show up? Is it visual? Is it auditory? Is it more felt? So it's really just in that kind of exploration that it all really just gets, all of experience kind of becomes so much more alive, because again that's something closer to like direct experience. Otherwise we're just sitting around learning facts and thinking about things, and then in that from that place sometimes it's like, well, how do I know the difference and all that? And those are valid questions from that place. And the only real answer that I know of is to like get in there and check it out. Otherwise, if we just talk about features of it and stuff, and we can do that, it's helpful. It's helpful to some extent, but um, it's just kind of more of the same. So eventually, like anyone who's been doing this kind of work for a long time, it's like eventually you need to get out of the book and get into the actual thing. And that's kind of what this is. It's like, let's quit, learning. At some point, you get out of school and you go put what you learned into action. And that's kind of how this is.
So I get a sense that this exploration doesn't end, that there's not like a point where you're like, I'm good. I mean, I've got it.
Yeah.
That there's just deeper and deeper levels that you can sense into.
Hmm.
And there's so much more to explore because life is just varied and curious and wonderful, expressive,
Yeah.
and we sometimes block ourselves from seeing that,
Yeah.
but we can see it more and more.
So it occurs to me that it would be such a huge missed opportunity if I didn't give you, the listener, the chance to experiment with this silence thing that we've been talking about for the last 45-ish minutes. And so we're gonna try it right now, here live on this podcasting session. And if you liked it, you can reach out to Amy and you can learn more about her community. And you can discover what this silence is all about. And so the invitation is to really come at it with some curiosity, to sense what your experience is in this very moment. And just so you know, your earbuds or your speaker is not broken. We're having silence right now. So for the next 3 minutes, I mean, Amy said you can start small. We can start with 30 seconds. We can start with 1 minute. Let's start with 3. For the next 3 minutes, just be present. Just be in silence. That's the invitation. Let's get started.
I'd love for you to maybe have the last thoughts and then share where people can find you. I would also very highly recommend all of Amy's books. The community is phenomenal. She's just redone it, and there's so much more resources in there now, and you've added so much more. There's more calls, and it's just been so incredibly valuable for me. So I would highly recommend it. But please share any last thoughts. Any last thoughts? And tell people where they can find you.
Yeah. Well, I think this conversation has been great. Thank you. It's like pointed in a really good direction. So now it's like the pointer is toward actual exploring, like investigating what's here. What is this thing we call a sensation? And not to answer that with more thought, but to feel into it. What is emotion? What is thought? How does it feel? How are they different? But really all that even that sounds very complicated. All we ever can really need to do is just stop and be in what this is. So it's not about going out and chasing something and bringing it back to analyze it. It's more like just being in what is, and everything will come to you. And then you can just be in it and see it and be curious about it when it arises. Like it could not be simpler. Could not be simpler. So I hope people do that, because it's a really big deal. It's really, very, very different from continuing to like think about and learn about things. And then, to find my podcast and the books and the community and all the resources, my website's dramyjohnson.com, and everything is there. And as you said, there's a lot. It's a lot of stuff. The community is amazing. It's such good people like Rich and others who are just really interested in this and very engaged, and showing up on calls and showing up on our forum. So it's really about that. I mean, it's an opportunity for people to hear from other people who are like them and who are interested in this. And many people are there for support with anxiety, with various things. And so there's a lot of support there too, which I think is just very valuable for others to see someone else being supported through thoughts that feel really true, or, really difficult emotions or whatever. We're all the same. It's not about them. We're all exactly the same in terms of how this stuff operates in the most basic level. So that piece of it I think is just really valuable.
And I believe you have 2 silent retreats coming up.
Yes, this February of 2026, should be one in Hendersonville, North Carolina, and there will be one in Taos, New Mexico.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Amy, I can't thank you enough for joining me today and sharing more about the silence thing, whatever you want to call it. Thank you for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
This is the Releasing Mental Tension podcast with Rich Life. I'm on a mission to help people release their mental tension, because I know that it helps them to be more capable, creative, and compassionate human beings. And I need your help. Please like, comment, subscribe. If you'd like more resources, visit richliferealization.com. Your vibrant life is a single thought away.